We're in a fight for our lives right now. We're in a fight for our children's lives. We're in a fight for our grandchildren's lives. Why? Because we let it get to this point. Why? Because we walked right into a trap that they've been setting for us for decades and decades. Why? Because inside that trap were modern conveniences and technologies and luxuries and faster information and quicker communication and you name it. You name it. We just had to have it. Now look at us. Now look at us. And I was thinking on top of that too, they've also been trying to tell us about it, but most of us just really didn't notice it. They use Hollywood, to tell us about what it's going to be. They have to. It's part of their, part of the ritual. They have to tell us about it. But we saw it coming and we walked right into it anyway. I think that's the most disappointing part about it for me. And that's the most unsettling point for me. It does give me kind of an uneasy feeling knowing that we let it happen. I want to say my generation specifically, but yeah, we let it happen. And now we're in desperation mode to put a stop to it. And I'm just not sure if we've got enough like-minded people together to make that happen. That's also a scary part.
90% of people that I come into contact with on a daily basis have no clue what's going on in this country. They have no clue that they're being lied to and manipulated by the news and by social media. They have no clue that they're using saturation propaganda. And when you try to explain to people what you know, even if, research and development, whatever, you come to terms after your spiritual awakening. So many things are by design. And then you go into an isolation period. You learn yourself, your higher self. You become high vibrational. You understand that everything that you've been taught is a lie. And then when you get over that, you try to integrate yourself with people again. Well, 90% of people have no clue what's going on. And I've came to terms with the reality that it's not our job to teach people or to bring them into the awakening. You're not an alarm clock. I'm not an alarm clock. My job is to hold the light, hold the truth, and stay high vibrational and observe, not absorb. Observe, not absorb. Observe, not absorb.
I don't know what's coming, but I'm telling y'all, it's something big. The government's done telling us about aliens, and then you got this virus outbreak and all that. Something big's about to happen. Best advice I got for you and your family, put God first, put faith in Him, and don't worry about it. It is what it is. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. But I'm telling you, something big's about to happen. They're actually telling us about this. So, y'all be prepared. Holla at you.
I have noticed a very strange behavior among the rich folk. I've been delivering since 2014, and I have never seen the rich folk prepping like they've been doing the last 2 months. They have buying, a lot of them have been buying dry foods, buying generators. A lot of them have been trying getting dry foods, rice, beans, all the stuff I've been delivering. And when I delivered, they're like, oh, put in a garage. One of this other guy, he has his whole entire garage built out. And when I asked him why is he doing it, he's just my gut feeling. So I don't know what they're being prepped for. Why are they buying so many of the emergencies? But they're buying a lot. They're prepping, and I deliver to people who are earning million plus. Some of these houses are $2-3 million, and they're prepping for something, not to leave or go anywhere, just to stay in. They're prepping. That's highly suspicious.
Americans are waking up to a quiet crisis buried under the promise of progress. Data centers, those silent giants of the digital age, aren't just about tech. They're about control. They're draining water, siphoning privacy, and quietly reshaping our future. The question isn't if they're a threat. It's how long we'll let them run unchecked before we ask who's really benefiting.
So one of the ways that we know that this whole data center necessity is an absolute scam is everybody's been on social media, everybody's got smartphones, laptops, computers, all this kind of stuff, and they have had these things now for I mean, smartphones have been around for what, almost 20 years now? And we didn't need all these data centers. So the only reason why they're actually trying to push this through is because they want a total surveillance state. We already have people like Larry Ellison, for example, who's pushing for data centers all over. He wants everybody being monitored all the time because he thinks that's going to guarantee everybody's best behavior. Now, the problem with that is who is deciding what good behavior actually is? Who gets to decide that? Because people are going to have different opinions on that. Some people think transing kids is fine. Some people think drag queen story hour is fine. Some people think honor killings are fine. Right? I personally think all those things are not okay. So who is the one who's going to get to decide what good behavior is? The reality is we need to do everything we can to mitigate these data centers going up. Are we going to need some of them so that AI can be a useful tool? Absolutely. But we wouldn't need as many data centers as they want if they weren't trying to track absolutely everything that everybody's doing. And it's not for people's safety. That is a bunch of horse crap. If the government was truly interested in people having safe society and having a safe society, then we wouldn't have the mess with K through 12 education that we have. That would not be a thing. We would have programs in place to promote the nuclear family so that you would have well-adjusted, well-raised children who then become responsible adults. Government's not doing any of those things. So safety can't be what they're actually going for because everything that they're supporting, and I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, it's both of them have serious issues, and they're all in the tank for this AI stuff. In fact, right now, Democrats are actually pulling back a little bit on a lot of this AI infrastructure more so than Republicans are. So, in full disclosure, I'm an independent, have been my entire life. I don't like either party for lots of reasons, but this is something that everybody should agree on. Part of America is that we should know what the government is up to, and that as long as we're law-abiding citizens, it's on the government to prove that we aren't, and that they should be able to encroach on, our privacy. But this surveillance state, they are pushing for it, absolutely, and they're talking about it all the time. These people are absolutely mentioning they're just putting it on websites. They're putting it. They're saying it at like World Economic Forum conferences. They're not hiding the 8-ball here. They just don't think we're going to do anything about it. So vote for people at every single level who want freedom and who want you to be able to live your own life without government interference. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
I'm starting to think that these data centers are not what we're being told they are. One of the major complaints that people have about them is not just the taxing of the electric grid, but also the consumption of water. And I'm starting to believe that they're not really consuming water at all. They're storing it. If you've been on TikTok at all in the last couple of days, you're probably seeing videos about droughts, about extreme heat, and about low water supply in cities all across the country. And this is happening all across the world, quite frankly. I was talking about data centers a year ago and their consumption of water and how I felt like this was just excessive. Like it just didn't make sense that they needed so much water, especially if it was a closed loop system. What if the people responsible for building these data centers knew well in advance that we were going to experience dramatic droughts this year? And they started investing in these facilities not to run data centers, but to run direct access to aquifers. With the United States apparently privatizing water, it starts to make sense, doesn't it? And in fact, my wife, who's from South America, was told in school when she was growing up that the future wars would be over water, not oil. So what if that's what's really going on right now? That we're keeping the whole world's eyes turned over to the Middle East to make sure they think this is all about oil, when in reality, it's all about water. And don't forget, all those enormous structures built by ancient civilizations all seem to have one thing in common: aquifers underneath them.
When all the water is brown and you can't drink it, and that's including wells, and then there's no water, who do you think we got to buy that water from? where do you think that water is going to come from? If they're using all the energy, they're using all the power, they're using all the water for the data centers, where do you think that water is coming from then? How do you think you're going to get your water? You don't think they've already planned all this out? They know we're going to have to buy water.
So I work at a restaurant, as many of you know, and last night I was working my dinner shift, and my first table is I give them the check, and then I come up to collect the check and like take their payment, and the woman's on her phone, and she's like, oh, like I'm just paying the bill on my phone. And I'm like, what do you mean you're just paying on your phone? Because like we don't have anything like that. She's like, oh yeah, I just went to your website and I was able to like pay on my phone, like through your website, like you just enter your check number. Like, what? So I like go check in with management. Apparently it's some new system that was like implemented like very recently, but it like kind of doesn't have anything to do with us. I don't know. I wasn't fully clear on like the whole thing. But it just like really freaked me out because so people could now get their bill at the table and then pay on the app and just, I mean, I guess tip like whatever. But there's also like some monetary reward, and like if you use this payment system. And not only that, but if you download like this app, in order to use this app at different restaurants, you have to give them your credit card information. And I just really feel like we are just at such a point in society where it's just everything is so out of hand technologically. Like, can we not just like go out to eat? Just like simple. Like everything has to require like now 50,000 apps. All these people have to be involved. You have to give your information to everybody. Like, is anyone like actually like concerned? Like I am concerned. Like the direction we're heading is not normal. And this is just a very small example of something that's like not really creating like true harm on anyone, but like going down this path is, it's just, this is, none of this is sustainable.
Why is no one talking about the crisis that America is in right now? Data centers, water, food regulations, economic. On to the economic, jobs, the infertility rate, prices of everything. Why are we so compliant? Why are we complying? This government no longer represents the people. This government no longer has the people in their best interest. And it didn't just start with this administration. It started with vague regulations, giving loopholes to millionaires, now billionaires, now soon to be trillionaires. I am all for capitalism. I am all for do the work yourself, get your own money, do what you can, make a business, grow yourself. But there comes a limit when there's about to be a trillionaire and people cannot survive and eat. I considered myself pretty independent. This administration has pushed me so far into the extremism of you can't trust anybody. Trump just lifted the regulations for PFAs, which are, if you didn't know, forever chemicals in water, in drinking water, for the companies that sell drinking water. It no longer has regulations on it for forever chemicals. It's for the data centers. In cities where they have a data center, they don't have clean drinking water. It is full sludge, impurities, toxins. Because humans don't need water anymore. The AI needs it more. AI needs our water. Humans can survive without water. Why? Why are you doing this to us? Why are we going so far back? Why is our food so horrible? Our water is no longer going to be fresh because the data centers get it first, because they're a priority, because data is so useful. It's what we need. We don't need wildlife. No, we don't need it. So let's talk about the infertility crisis that's happening. The hormone shifts in generations now with all of these additives and toxins and dyes and preservatives in our food now. There's going to come a point where more of the percent of population is no longer going to be able to conceive. Economic crisis. We captured the dictator of Venezuela. We had access to the oil. That was supposed to be our in for our economic success. Where did that oil go? I read somewhere that we sold a lot of it. To what? To where? For who? Not for us. Not for us. Why is our gas $4 a gallon? Why is a carton of eggs $5? Why is milk $5? Where is the uproar? Where's the revolution? We went to war over less. Over less. Where's the uproar? Where's the revolution? Where are the people that are pissed off? Where are the people who want to do something about this? Because I want to. I'm going to file exempt on my taxes. I no longer want to pay a government that does not represent me, nor my peers, or anyone around me. Literally anyone. It doesn't represent anyone anymore. It only represents themselves. It only represents what they want to push. It no longer matters about what the actual population of this country wants. It's what they want. It's what the few hundred people who control everything, it's what they want. And then it's what their little puppeteer people want, not us. It's not us. They don't care about us.
Flock cameras and how they relate to data centers. So a flock camera is a license plate reader camera, okay? And so they mount these on poles with solar panels, and that's what it looks like. Camera, pole, solar panel. So what they do is they read license plates. And so they take pictures every microsecond of where they're pointed. So they take license plate pictures and they log that into a database. The other physical thing on a flock camera is that it has a condor. This is another camera. It is nicknamed a condor. Another camera on the pole, and what that does is it takes pictures of your face. It has facial recognition software on it, but it is a facial tracking camera. So the third thing that's on that pole is a microphone. And so every time it snaps a picture of these things, it snaps the audio too. And they can link the pictures together to make a type of video and audio stream. Now, that's not being perfected yet, but that's when you read the literature, that's the plan, is to make this stream. But regardless, it's not important. So those are the things that physically make up a flock camera. Okay, so the next thing that is the most important, insane shit about a flock cameras is their database. So they're pumping all this data into a national database. It's not just your local PD at a database at your sheriff's office or whatever. It's sending it to a national database, which is all over the United States. And that national database is housed in this government cloud of Amazon Web Services. I'm familiar with the GovCloud. The GovCloud is just a database that's, in the government on Amazon Web Services, but they have a secure web service for the government called GovCloud, allegedly. And so this GovCloud is the really big problem. So the reason it's a big problem is because when a jurisdiction is in the software and they select in the software a checkbox to share their data. When they share their data, it automatically makes their data shared. And so what that means in the big scheme of things is that a municipality in California, if their data is shareable, their flock camera data, then they can query like a Virginia municipality with no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion, and no subpoena. They can query anyone in the United States, anywhere by any agency that has access to it. And those cameras have tied all that data together. So they've tied your face to your license plate to your voice. So they can search on that. So if they have a bolo out for someone, which this would be the normal concept for it, but we know how humans are and it gets all kinds of perverted and ridiculous. But they would be able to say, hey, someone stole this car, here's the plates. They'd go search for the plates and then tell them where they are. And when they have the plates, they have your face and your audio too. You know, and that'd be good for a stolen vehicle because they say, oh, it's this guy's vehicle. But the problem is when it doesn't stop at that, and there's all kinds of reports when you research it that people just go and search all kinds of things in these databases because they're not governed by any central authority. Okay, so that's the problem. The biggest problem is that these data centers are going to be, this government cloud is going to be integrated into Amazon Web Services AI databases. They're AI data centers. And so Amazon's and Google are like the #1 developers of data centers all over the United States. And so they've already approved like a $50 billion contract in 2026 to absorb all of the government cloud into the infrastructure of the AI data centers, which will allow them to utilize all of the tools of AI on the database. And it will just essentially become another data feed into AI, another data set into AI. So the flock camera information will be a data set out there, utilized to be consumed by AI, and provided probably as some type of offering in software as a service, as I've said before in videos. So this is the problem with the flock cameras, is they're going into the AI data centers. And they're going to build more of them. And remember, what it does is it takes pictures of your face, takes pictures of your license plate, and takes audio everywhere in the United States that anyone can search that has access. Anywhere.
This isn't just about servers or algorithms, it's about power. Data centers are becoming the new frontier of surveillance tied to water scarcity, economic collapse, and a government that no longer serves the people. We're at a crossroads. Either we demand transparency and push back, or we risk surrendering our autonomy piece by piece. The choice is ours, but time is running out. What specific action can you take today to push back against this surveillance infrastructure? Share your thoughts in the comments, because change starts with awareness. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.